All right. Um, so a lot of people have been asking me or curious, or like some people, more people than I expected were actually this time around were very supportive and actually saying good for you, and most more guys that do that, and yada yada yada. Now, um, there's a few things just to clarify in case you're not aware. As people have been saying in the chat room and by the questions, my functionally I'm exactly intact. I have everything as I always have. I still will ejaculate. I still have everything is still produced in the same levels as always. It's just that the semen, the actual sperm, um, do not get distributed or deposited into the reservoir of liquid that then becomes the ejaculate. So it actually the sperm itself, as it is produced, it will be absorbed into my body, which there is some interesting sci-fi topics that we could go in that direction. But let's just say that I'm not going to impregnate myself at this stage in science. So, the some other things to know. It's not nearly as permanent and as serious as people seem to think. It is a it is a surgery, and it makes the chance of pregnancy into virtually zero. But it doesn't. It can be reversed. Not lots, but like 10% of people get it reversed. And of the people that choose to get it reversed, they were looking at it, and that it's a high success rate. If I choose to do that, now it's expensive. It costs up to like 10 grand to get it reversed, but kids are expensive too. So if I can't afford 10 grand to have it reversed, should I decide I must be a father? 10 grand should not be the determining factor. At least that's my opinion. If I can't afford $10,000 to have this reversed, I cannot afford to bring a child into the world. That's my feeling about it. As the longer that it's done, the less chance a reversal has of being effective. But let's say even up to 15 years from now, there's a 80% chance of it being reversed. And if it's, that's incredible. Like 15 years from now, I'm going to be, well, like 90 or 86 or something like that, but old. And so from 15 years from now, and I want to get it reversed, it's still possible. That's crazy to me. Not only that, I've also frozen some of my semen. I was on the phone with the clinic earlier, and they said that yes, they did successfully freeze one sample. And so I was like, well, what does that mean? I mean, I deposited 3, so is somebody, what happened to the other ones? And because I knew that when I brought it in, they were going to test it, and like for all I know, I've never gotten anyone pregnant, so I don't know if I actually am fertile in the first place. So I was kind of like, hey, I probably should have checked before I had the surgery. But anyways, so there's these 2 avenues. Should for something happen, say I get head trauma, or suddenly realize that I must father a child from my own seed. I have to be a parent, and it has to be from my genetics. If that somehow comes into my head, I have 2 avenues. 1, the reversal procedure. 2, I've frozen some semen. My initial payment, I've had 3 years of the freezing. Now, there's some great things that happen. The whole process is pretty funny. Like, you go through and you have to like leave. Well, there's a lot that's funny, but one thing that you have to you put the name, like like the emergency contact. You have to say, who do you bequeath your semen to? If you die, who has the rights to your stuff, or do you just say you can destroy it? And I was like, shit, man. I kind of want to open source it, So I actually called my brother. I'm like, yeah, what's your, driver's license number? He's like, why do you need that? And I'm like, oh, well, because I'm bequeathing my semen to you. And he was like, thanks, dude, thank you. He's like, well, I got you a coffee maker. So there's those 2 avenues of it's not a permanent thing. Now, that being said, why would I take such a drastic anti-pregnancy measure when there are other ways. And a lot of my friends are like, why don't you just wear a condom? You know, and or why doesn't your girlfriend get an IUD or get on the pill? Now, I do not or no longer have a vagina. So or ovaries, or any of the things that would give me any sort of qualifications to speak to the feminine types of birth control. There is messing with someone's hormones to stop pregnancy is, in my experience, is not always a simple process and is not always without consequences. So it's certainly not something that I'd be willing to pressure or push a woman into if she's like, look, it turns me into another person, which I've seen that happen a lot, where people are either depressed or upset or on edge. It's almost like, or like they're PMSing all the time, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want to be dealing with. So in the realm of what a man can do to stop pregnancy, there's condoms, or what? Nothing really. And condoms, while they are great and they're great for stopping a disease to a degree, they're not 100%. And don't get me wrong, because I'm not fertile doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly not use protection when I'm having sex with people. It means, but I'm generally not a one-night stand kind of person, and so usually when I'm having sex, and I'll say that, just in case there's anyone outside right now who's hoping to come inside and have sex with me, usually, I would prefer to be in a relationship for a while and get to a point where we're mutually tested and get to a place where we are comfortable with the risk that we would be taking with one another to have condomless sex. I don't really like condoms. Do I use them? Constantly. Almost every time I've had sex in my entire life has been with a condom. And it is a huge, it has a lot of negative consequences to my mental psyche, to my spiritual connection in that moment. One, it breaks a lot of the momentum. Two, I'm constantly checking to make sure it's still on, because they are not foolproof. I've had them come off a number of times. I've had them break. And I'm glad that both have happened, because if they just came off, I would think that maybe I was just really, really small. And if they just broke, I would think that, oh, it's because I'm so big. But because both happen, I just think it's because shit happens. So I would like to, so that being said, even when you have the pill, even when you have a condom, even when you have all these things, there's still that percentage chance. There's still that chance of, oh, is she, how much do I know that she's been taking the pill at the same time every day? I've had experiences in the past where I suddenly realized in a relationship of whatever sorts that, oh my gosh, this person is not as dedicated to avoiding pregnancy as I am. And that just puts in something that can be so transcendent, so spiritually far, to be anchored to those anxieties and concerns and reasons. It's just been a constant bummer for me. So I do not feel up to it, by the way. I've got the ice on my balls. I was just kidding. I'm supposed to be a week before I do any sort of sexual activities. Okay, so that being said, so that's one reason that I explored the vasectomy as opposed to just using a condom or whatever, is because of eliminating even that little risk of. The other reason is, over time, here's the other part of this. I am pro-choice, very much pro-choice in almost every way. But there's a huge difference between pro-choice and being, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm simply pro-choice. I would really, really like to avoid being put in the situation, or putting anyone else in the situation of having to make the decision, or making to have that choice. It's just such an unknown in terms of what I understand in my spirituality, and what in terms of the cosmic flow of life and all of those things. I would really like to not have an abortion. That being said, I do have no judgment whatsoever over anyone that has one or is having one or is contemplating one. In fact, if they said, you know what, actually, you still have 8 weeks of fertility, you just got someone pregnant, what are you going to do? I would still entertain the thought. I would still deal with that choice and process that choice. But to me, if I had to weigh the intensity, the challenges, the trauma of a vasectomy versus that of an abortion, I would much rather take on the risks of a vasectomy. So being that I have no intention of having children, certainly not in the near future, it's almost a no-brainer for me to make that choice and take away any possibility of me having to put myself or anyone else into making that choice. So I know that by delving into that realm and that topic, I'm suddenly into a very treacherous place that it certainly isn't as fun as other Hug Nation-y things. But when I was sitting with this last night, I realized that that a lot of this choice for me has to do with my evolving beliefs about abortion. And that whereas there was one time in my life where I would have not thought, I would have said absolutely, like not even, I wouldn't even thought twice. Now it's like, well, I would much rather go through personal surgery than make that decision later. Laughing so hard you can't see straight. Well, good to know. A lot of people don't think abortion's funny, so I'm glad that we all have, we're relaxed about that. Thank you, Nick B. Oh, okay, the comments. Okay, good. All right. Well, I will tune back into the chat room and we can talk about this and discuss it. But that was yeah. It's been I will keep you posted. So far, it has been nowhere nearly as painful as I would have guessed or expected. That being said, I'm still healing, and I still have. But it's been, been a little day and a half, and I'm supposed to not do anything for at least 2 days. So I still have it all packed up in gauze, and by it I mean my genitals. And yeah, it's just I think I feel really good about it because, as I said, it didn't eliminate the possibility of having a child. It simply eliminates the possibility of an accidental pregnancy, which would put me into a moral position that I would rather not. It's just a choice that I don't want to have to make. I believe in freedom of choice, and I also believe in risk reduction, and I also believe in ever getting closer and closer to alignment. Whether that be, suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, I suddenly no longer feel good using a plastic bottle. I suddenly no longer feel good driving this car, like environmental things. Or suddenly I no longer feel good about beliefs I had about immigration. Suddenly I realize we're the same, or suddenly I believe like animal rights things, or suddenly I can't eat meat, or suddenly like that's what you thought was in alignment. As you evolve, you realize that's not so much in alignment. And for me, my beliefs about abortion have evolved to a point where for me to be closer into alignment, I need to eliminate the possibility of having to make that choice.